parties. Are you a fan of Christmas works parties? I always used to avoid them. I don't like them because when you go to them, people get drunk and then all they ever do is just bitch about work. And you're like, well,
Yeah,
no, at least if you're bitching about work when we're at work, I'm getting paid for this. So I used to always avoid them because I'm not a social creature anyway.
I'm not a fan of Christmas full stop, never mind the Christmas parties and stuff like that.
Same.
So I'm not a social creature, but I sort of like rear my ugly head. And in this case here, there's reasons because of the fact that I work from home, so I very rarely get to see my colleagues. If I
Yeah.
was working in the office, then that's fine. So I'll rear my ugly head. I'll be there for about an hour, hour and a half, just to say
Okay.
hi. I don't drink, so Diet Coke for me is fine. I hate socializing. The music they play is not my cup of tea at all.
No.
Not at all, because it's just the usual crappy pop music and dance music because they need to adhere to the masses, and the masses prefer that. Whereas me, I'm a metal slash rock head, so they don't play any of that stuff at all. That's why I have Download Festival and Slam Dunk Festival to go to. And so yeah, it's just an hour and a half of annoyances. Then I can get home, and at least I said I've shown me face.
And you'd mentioned before we started this show that you're going to a gig. Who are you going to watch?
So I'm going to Leeds to a gig to see a band called Straight from the Path, which are American sort of like rock pop punkish kind of band. They are splitting up, and so this is their final ever tour. And supporting them is a band called Alpha Wolf, which are a fantastic metal rock band from Australia. They put a little bit of rap music into their rock music. And there's a British band called Graphic Nature, which are a very heavy band, phenomenal band as well, which they're supporting them as well. So can't wait for that. And then my next gigs are next year, Slam Dunk and Download,
Nice. What are the
which I
sort
get to
of
see.
what are the sort of costs of the tickets for the gigs that you're going to watch, or are they relative to like how much concert tickets are nowadays, which is just crazy pricing, or are they cheaper?
Well, it depends. I know that the government, again, to try and help it, is finally putting through a legislation that if you resell tickets, you can't sell them more than the price of what it would be to buy the ticket.
Mm.
So, because the resale market is insane, the cost that some people add on to the price of a ticket. For example, if you were going to see a big band and the ticket was £100, like if you were going to see Taylor Swift, for example, and
Yeah.
the ticket to see Taylor Swift is £200, and they've sold out, and you resell the ticket, you know you're going to get a high premium for it because people will want to buy it. So in the future, they're not allowed to sell it for more than the price of what it originally was. So they can only sell it at £200. But for the Straight from the Path ticket, it was including admin fees and all that kind of stuff. It was about £40.
Okay, that's good.
For
Yeah.
Slam Dunk Festival, because it's one day, that was £150. And for Download Festival, which is 5 days, 3 day camping, sorry, 2 day camping, then 3 day arena thing. That was £330. That one,
But if you break that down per band, it's pretty good. You know,
yeah,
it's
because on the lineup, the headliners were announced to be Limp Bizkit, Guns N' Roses, and Linkin Park. So I finally get to see Linkin Park, obviously with Emily Armstrong, the new singer,
yeah, yeah.
but Linkin Park. And then for me, when I looked over the rest of the bands that were on the lineup there, there's about another good 18 other bands that I really want to see. So if you take that £330 divided by 18, you're looking at around about £30 a band, if less than that, around about 20-ish pound a band. So £20 to see Linkin Park.
Amazing. Yeah.
So yeah, it was an absolute no-brainer because there are a few bands that I've always wanted to see that's on the line of bands, including Static X, Baby Metal, etc. So even just if it was Linkin Park, Baby Metal, Static X, and a couple of other bands, I still would have said it was worth it.
I think when I saw Linkin Park, which was a Thousand Suns tour, it was like 65 quid a ticket. You know, I was happy with
Mm-hmm.
that, 65 quid. But I look at how much some concert tickets cost now, and I'm like, no, you know, I'm not. I would love to go see them, but I just do not have that sort of money to buy concert tickets. Crazy,
Yeah, and
crazy. Same with autographs
it's
at conventions. You look at some. how much people charge now, and you're like, no chance. Insane.
Exactly. I've seen some of the eye-watering prices for them, and I'm thinking I'm going to a couple of gigs for the cost of what you charging for a photograph with a signature on it. So
Yeah,
no, thank you.
no. I'd be interested to go, and I went to MCM London earlier on this year, but it wasn't really. I mean, even there, you couldn't just wander up and get close to see people. There was security everywhere,
Hmm.
just going, "Nope, if you've not paid several £100s, get lost." Crazy. It's not as much fun as it used to be, but
Yeah.
I've treated myself this week, Stu Miller. I have treated myself to one of the
Yeah,
PlayStation
with you,
Portal.
you said you got that, and then it's just ironic that Sony have just launched their Black Friday sales yesterday, and they've come down in price.
How much are they now? Just to upset me a bit.
So how much did you pay for yours?
I paid 199 for mine.
So I think they were
That's not
179.
too bad
I
then.
think what Sony is selling at.
Yeah.
So at least it's not like dropping down to like 140, 150.
I'm not going to cry
Because
myself to sleep. Going, oh my god, if I'd have just waited like a week.
yeah,
I like it. I'm impressed because it's like, we've spoke about health issues and stuff. I'm spending a lot of time upstairs now, just lying and recuperating and stuff. And I've pondered getting another console for upstairs, but I'm like, do I really want to spend about 400 quid getting another PlayStation or another
hmm,
Xbox? I'm like, not really. And then I was listening to a podcast where somebody had said that they'd been out and got a PS Portal for $180. I think they'd picked it up. I'm like, well, that's a lot cheaper than I remember them being at launch. And I listened to their review of it. I'm like, I'm going to investigate one of these things, and I found one for 99. And I thought, solid. It's not often I treat myself to a gadget, so I did it,
yeah.
and it's impressive. It's a good piece of kit. Um,
Considering what it can do now to what it originally could do, it's
yeah,
come on absolute leaps and bounds. Because when it was originally launched, it was just you could the limitations were there. But now, because the fact that you can stream pretty much any game on that you do own, you can use all the streaming stuff through PlayStation Plus Premium / Extra as well, and all that
mhm,
kind of stuff. For the price, it's OLED screen. It's a beautiful looking screen on it. For the price, it is a no-brainer if it is that you're just looking for, as you said, to be able to play your games on it, and you don't want to spend, because the Switch 2 is still about £430
yeah,
for a handheld. If you're looking at a Steam Deck, original Steam Decks, they're about 300, which then they can skyrocket up to around about 1,200–1,500 if you're going down the Asus ROG Ally route, the Asus ROG Ally X, the Xbox version of it, and all that kind of stuff. So you can go up to £1,500 for something like that. For
mhm.
£200 or just under £200 for if you're a PlayStation person and most of your games are on that, it's an absolute no-brainer.
Because I've always wanted to play more video games than I do. As a kid, I used to spend days just playing games and grinding through various games to try and finish them. But as an
Hmm.
adult, we're so distracted by everything else. TikTok, emails, podcast, YouTube, watching things on TV, and I'm like, I don't play as much video gaming as I'd like. But I thought I'll
Yeah.
pick up this PlayStation Portal, and I've already played like 3 or 4 hours worth of Stray, which I'd started playing. It was a game you recommended like a year or so ago, if not longer. Um, and it was one of the free games on the PlayStation Plus thing. And I played it
Hmm.
on the big TV, and I'm like, this is fun. I will definitely play more of this. And then that was the first game that I played on the PS Portal. And I think it's just as good as playing it on a big TV. Obviously, a big
Yeah.
TV is bigger, but for example, I wanted to see what the multiplayer was like on not on Stray, but on the PS Portal. Was it quick reaction? So I thought, right, let's put some Black Ops, some Call of Duty on. I'm not the best Call of Duty player by any means. I spend
Hmm.
more time getting shot than I do shooting other people. But I got a higher score playing the multiplayer on the PS Portal than I do on a 65-inch TV that's right in front of me. So for some reason, I seem to do better on that.
Yeah.
The reaction times are really, really good as well. There's no lag, and my PS5 isn't hard cabled into the router; it's wireless. So it's going from a
Hmm.
PS Portal through to the PS5, through to my router, and then on the internet. And I didn't notice any issues whatsoever. Took me about 15 minutes to set up because there's a couple of updates. But so
Yeah,
far, I'm,
because
I'm well chuffed.
There was a huge update just dropped about a week ago, just over a week ago on it. So you'll have had that one. But I'm interested in getting one myself. Funds at the moment are not the best.
No.
But I am definitely contemplating on getting one myself, because even though my main setup for my PlayStation 5 is in my bedroom with the TV just to the right of us, sometimes you can't even be bothered to just switch it on. That you
No.
just want something on in front of you, and then you've got the handheld. And the games I'm playing currently at the moment are not sort of like graphically intensive games or first person shooters, because I'm just playing a lot of games like Absalom, which is a roguelite. Don't laugh at me at this, but I'm playing Power Wash Simulator 2,
Yeah.
which it's the perfect music game, or if you just want to put an episode of something on in the background, it's the perfect game for that. Just games like that. So nothing extremely intensive that I'm playing at the moment. So
Mm.
I might actually get one myself.
They're
Very
good. Well,
pondering to get one.
funds were tight for me as well, but I went on Very, the catalog company,
Hmm.
and I've paid for it. Well, I haven't paid for it, but I've got it from there, and it's in my hand and everything. I don't pay for it for 6 months,
Yeah,
and as long as you pay for it before the 6 months or whatever, there's no interest charges. So I'm like, I
yeah,
can I can scrape together 199 quid in the next 6 months and just pay it
yeah,
off. But I was kind of like wavering. But so far, it's a really good piece of kit. It's also not heavy. I mean, obviously, it's a dual sense with a 8-inch screen in the middle of it, but it doesn't feel like it's not going to break your arms,
yeah.
and it also feels really solid. There is also a headphone socket on it, so you don't have to faff around with any of these fancy accessories. There's the microphone button on it, so if you play any multiplayer, you can have it on, or you can just mute. You get all your haptic feedback that you do
Hmm.
on the regular DualSense. But to be fair, I turned all that off because it's the battery life.
Yeah.
So apparently, if you turn all that lot off, you're probably going to get about 4 hours battery charge out of it, which I think for that is fine.
For its usage case, yeah.
Yeah. And you can buy like a case for it. And the case is about 40 quid. But the box it comes in a big fancy PlayStation box anyway, but also
Hmm.
comes in a really solid box. So what I
Yeah.
do with that when I'm playing it or when not playing it is just keep it in that box and put the lid back on it. So
Smart.
I'm saving spending 43 quid on a PlayStation case.
Hmm.
But I'm impressed. It's the first gadget I've bought since I bought the PSVR 2. No, you can't put a VR thing in it. Anybody asks that one. Apparently, the processing power on a PS Portal is nowhere where it would need to be. But I was
Yeah,
playing some.
because
I
it
was
it
playing some.
um it,
Oh, sorry, carry on.
it all it does is runs off a basic Android operating system.
Yeah.
So it has the basic Android operating system running in the background, but there is no oomph behind it. So there's nothing like a Steam Deck where it has its own onboard graphics card or CPU or something like that, because it's only mainly used for streaming games and things. That was its original intention. So it doesn't have any of those graphical oomph in it.
But it works. We've been sitting playing Crash Bandicoot and stuff because obviously any game that you've got in your library or what stuff you've purchased, or if you've got the PlayStation Plus stuff, you just download it and play it, and it's great. But I was playing some Stray on it, and then I'm like, right, I'm done playing Stray now. I'll just let me put my TV on, and I just carried on playing it on the big TV. So it obviously
Hmm.
works on both trophies and everything. It's a good piece of kit for the cost. It's really good.
Definitely,
Very happy with
considering
it.
the cost of some of the stuff in the similar kind of vein.
Yeah, exactly. So, what have you been up to then? What have you been watching? Anything exciting or
Lots of
not?
films still. Lots of
Yeah.
films. Since we last spoke, I've seen 19 new films.
Wow.
Um, on top of that, I've been watching Welcome to Derry, the It TV series.
Yeah,
So
we
I've
can
been
chat about
watching that.
that. How many have you seen? Four.
Seen all of them so far. The next
Same.
episode for us is on Monday.
Yeah.
Well, late Sunday, but I prefer to watch it on
Monday.
Monday.
Yeah, I'm not getting up at
Um,
stupid o'clock to watch an episode of TV. Gone are those days.
Yeah, but I won't be watching it on Monday because I'm not going to be available. So I'll watch it on Tuesday, my day off. So I've been watching that. But I've been ill again, annoyingly. I lost my voice about 10 days ago. Had an extremely bad sore throat. I've still got a bit of a cough. So if people hear rattling or anything like that, I've got a soother in my mouth so I don't cough. I've got water beside us. So I've been ill. So It's just mainly work and watching lots and lots of films. And Welcome to Derry, waiting for obviously the new series of Strangers Chapter 5, which starts this coming week.
It does, doesn't it? We're on a mad rewatch through the entire run of Stranger Things, and we are 3 episodes into season 4. So we're on target, but then I look at the running times of some of these season 4 episodes. It's like, oh, for the love of God, the finale itself's 2.5 hours. You're like, oh Christ! So we're really trying to, because the internet's going to ruin it. Once these episodes drop, they're just going to ruin it. Oh my God, such and such has happened, and you're like, thanks for that.
So it's definitely going to be one of those series that you're going to have to watch when the episode drops, rather than just wait. Because you could binge watch them all on New Year's Day, because the final episode drops on New Year's Eve. Because they drop in little chunks, a couple of episodes at the end of this month for a couple of weeks, and then Christmas Eve,
Day,
and then New Year's Eve.
Yeah, crazy, isn't it?
So you could watch them all on New Year's Day if you wanted to, but that's probably going to be a really bad idea.
Because the internet spoils stuff. We don't, but the internet does. So pretty much the only TV shows we've been watching at the minute: Welcome to Derry, Tulsa King on Paramount, the Stallone thing, and Stranger Things. So I'm enjoying rewatching Stranger Things, but it surprises me how much of a difference season 4 is compared to the other ones, because obviously 1, 2, and 3 are Goonies and Firestarter and all that sort of 80s nostalgia type stuff. Series 4 is just it's like a bloody slasher movie.
Yeah,
it's like a full-on Nightmare on Elm Street, crazy people getting murdered left, right, and center. It's absolute madness. Hey, John in the chat, John Shelton. But it's brutal, and it's like, we know a lot of people who've got kids at like 10 years old, and they're huge Stranger Things fans. You're like, and I know you were watching Elm Street by the time you were like 2 or 3, but generally the norm is like, I don't think I'd let a 10-year-old watch Stranger Things season 4, but good.
In a way, you could say that it's fine for them to watch that one, because if they watch season 1, 2, and 3, it eases them into it. So that you're going, well, there's elements of horror here. Prepare for the real horror. We've led you into it. We've given you 3 seasons to ease you in. Here's the 4th season where it will guarantee to probably give you nightmares. So you could, in a way, do that. Or be like me and just get thrown straight in the deep end and see somebody killing you in your dreams. So...
But it's good. It makes more sense rewatching it, because this whole Stranger Things has spanned over like 10 years at this point, which is just crazy for that amount of seasons. But obviously there was pandemics and strikes and all that sort of stuff going on in between that. But I'm curious to see how much older the characters look in this new one. So I think they've all got mortgages and they've adopted children and all that sort of stuff.
One thing I am happy about is, though, that they're ending it on a TV series rather than doing, for example, what they've done with The Mandalorian and Grogu. They're ending that on the film, which is out in cinemas the middle of next year. So I don't think that's a good idea, having a TV series ending off on a film. End it off in the same way that you've done it, because you can tell a bit more of an in-depth story rather than just throwing a film out there and then that's it.
But we shall see. We shall see how the show ends. But yeah, we're on mad rewatch. We're going to watch the 3 episodes. I think it's 3. It's either 3 or 4 that drop next week. Hopefully we'll watch those in time, and then we can just relax until Christmas Day when we sit and watch the other ones, whatever, in the morning or something, and then New Year's Eve for the finale. Yep, exactly.
Yep.
What's your thoughts on the whole Stranger Things thing then? Did you join it from season 1, or did you?
Yeah, I did. It was one of those rare things where I did actually watch it from season 1, because I knew it was something that I would like. Because, as you said, it reminds you of things like the Monster Squad and Goonies and old 80s horror adventure films. And so that was the instant thing, because it's set in the 70s and 80s anyway. So that time frame, any film or any TV program that's fantasy that's set in that era, you've instantly sold me on it, because it's my childhood era and I was well into that kind of stuff in the 80s. So I was guaranteed to watch from dot one when the first episode dropped of season 1. So I've seen them all, I've seen all of season 4, so I'm just waiting for season 5.
But it's not often that you watch a TV show either, is it?
Nope.
You're obviously more movies
Yeah,
than TV. So,
a lot more movies.
so Welcome to Derry. We'll touch upon TV. What's your thoughts on that so far?
It's fine. I think sort of like they let Andy Muschietti off his leash a little bit, because you could sense that in the It Chapter 1 and It Chapter 2 that he was reeled back a little bit, because obviously he didn't want to make the 2 films similar to the books, because the books do go into a nasty world of depravity. So considering that there's a character who wasn't fully explored in the films, in It Chapter 1 and It Chapter 2, who's in the books, who does some absolutely despicable and nasty things, yet you could look at it and think, well, if Welcome to Derry does get a second series, they could sort of like maybe potentially explore that, because I feel, surprisingly, you can get away with a lot more on TV these days than you can in films, in a way, because it doesn't matter, because there is no age rating certificate attached to a TV program. It's not regulated by the BBFC. Whereas films, you need to make it for a specific audience, so you're going to get the money to come through to make it viable to actually do that film. A TV series, you can make it a lot more graphic and violent and things like that, so you can get away with it. So I think with the 4 episodes that have been aired so far, Machete is able to like dig into his brain of insanity and be able to let that leak onto the screen more so. Like you see some of the imagery, and even though we've only had minor glimpses of Pennywise, and Pennywise does show up more so in the latest part because they dropped the trailer for the latter part of it. We've seen sort of like his manifestations of what he actually is. For example, the pregnant woman and the birth scene in one of the episodes.
Yeah.
I don't think he would have, if you said that to the studio executives going, oh, I've got an idea. I've got an idea of what we could include in this film. He would have been told, go away. But whereas in the TV series, he's able to actually just go, you know what? I'm going to make it as nasty as possible with all the squelchy sounds and all that kind of stuff. So I'm happy that he's able to actually do that. The first episode, for example, did you expect to see what you see in the first episode? That's the
No.
first episode.
Are we talking about the stuff in the car?
Not just that, in the cinema.
In the cinema, yeah.
In
No,
the theater as
not at
well.
all. It threw me in the net because we were watching it, and you start watching, and we're not going to spoil anything, but it's like you start watching, well, maybe a tiny one, but you start watching this program, you're like, oh, these are the characters we're going to follow, and you're like, oh, maybe it's not. Maybe it's not those characters we're going to follow.
Exactly.
So it's like, okay, all bets are off. Let's see where this show leads.
I love that as well, by installing that in the first episode. Like, it's that adage that nobody is safe, no matter who you want to latch on to, whether it be a good guy, a bad guy. And also, it's hard to tell who is a bad guy, because the way Pennywise and the It embodiment, because Pennywise is just an embodiment of it, the way that sort of like is shown can be anything. And so it could be anything from the girl with the glasses, who every now and again you see the gleaming lights on her glasses indicating is she Pennywise? Is she it? To just somebody who seems potentially innocent, but there in turn might have an ulterior motive. And it's hard to sort of like latch onto that. So for the most part, it's doing a good job. The last episode where it had the info dump in regards to sort of like what has actually happened in the past, I didn't think that was handled very well. And I think the CGI is overly done. Like it's extreme CGI, to the point where in about 5-10 years time, it might look very ugly. It might look very ropey. So I would have preferred, it's probably the cost, but I would have preferred for them to use more practical, but practical we know can be less costly than digital.
Yeah.
So I would have preferred to see some more practical, but so far, 4 episodes in, it's grabbed my attention. It's made me want to watch even more. So I'll stick by it until it's fully finished.
What do you think about the tie-in with The Shining? I quite like that. It's like, okay, it's different. It makes sense, and it's something I didn't expect. to pop up in that. But I think I always knew there was going to be lots of Stephen King Easter eggs and stuff in this show
Oh,
because they
definitely.
always touted it as that. Even when it was originally called Welcome to Derry, now it's called Welcome to Derry as a last minute sort of title change. But I, there's a lot of people online who, because that's what they do now, it's boring. There's no Pennywise in it. It's like, well, there's it. That's the whole point. It
Hmm.
becomes Pennywise and so on. So there's that whole craziness. But I'm enjoying it so far. We're halfway through season one. Supposedly they've got a 3-year plan. HBO are usually pretty good at sticking to those plans rather than just cancelling something after a season. But
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to seeing how it all pans out. So far,
it'll
so good.
stick. It'll stick on Sky because, as I said, that HBO Max drops next year, the first quarter of next year, and it's going to be free as part of your Sky subscription, the HBO Max stuff. So it'll drop on there. So we'll probably get it pretty much the same time as America does get it, which
Yeah.
seems to sort of like follow suit with a lot of things. I know you don't follow football, but there's a TV station in the UK called TNT Sports, which shows all the Champions League, Europa League, and stuff like that. Well, they've lost the rights to that in 2027, and Paramount Plus are going to be showing the Champions League football.
Okay.
So, and they're going to use the American host for that. So we're starting to see that gap which we used to have, where um, America got it first, and then we had to wait a little bit before we got it, to be even more shorter. I think the sort of like the catalyst for that was the last ever episode of Lost. Like it was shown exactly the same time in the UK, unfortunately, at like 4 o'clock in the morning, as it was in America. But now we're starting to see where things are dropping pretty much simultaneously, America
Yeah.
and the UK.
Here's a hypothetical question for you as well. So you'll have heard about Warner Brothers Discovery being,
Yeah.
up for sale, and all these different companies are sniffing around it, including Paramount, Skydance, and Netflix.
Hmm.
If Netflix get it, what happens to HBO Max? Because surely, would you think they would just use HBO Max as an extra money spinner, or do you think they would just try and roll it into Netflix? Obviously, it's all hypothetical because we don't know, but I was
They'll,
pondering it out the other night.
they'll probably do what Disney Plus did with Hulu. And so
Hmm.
Disney Plus, well, stars in here, but it's now changed. It's Hulu, but Disney bought that part of it and still had them slightly separate. But you had a deal where you got Netflix and well, you got Disney and Hulu as part of the
Hmm.
package. They might end up doing the same. They might use their Netflix stuff as their usual thing, and then the HBO Max side of things is a different arm to them to offer a bit more variety. They might also use it to. They might get rid of the HBO Max name. Obviously, keep the Paramount etc. name and use that arm to show films in the cinema, like Amazon Studios does with MGM.
Yeah.
And I know we're seeing Netflix movies in the cinema, but they're only there for a couple of weeks. For example, Frankenstein, which I'll get onto a little bit later on. But they might end up just using that arm for it. So they might merge it in together. They might have two separate entities, but still in the same app. I don't know. I think out of all of them, I think the Netflix area is the better suited one for it, in my opinion, because
Yeah.
Netflix did say that it would push them more to have more films in the cinema, which again for films like a Frankenstein is needed.
I think what Netflix had said, and I really don't want Netflix to get Warner Brothers. I think it would be horrendous. Is they said they will honor all commitments to show Warner Brothers movies in cinemas. Now,
Yeah,
does that not mean if you're a film director and you've got a contract with Warner to show your film on the big screen next summer, that if Netflix buy them out, they'll go, right, we'll carry on that one. What does it mean for new contracts though? Because Netflix kind of hate the big screen thing
they
for
do,
some reason.
but
They don't like money for some reason.
they do, but they don't want to go down the route of a Fox because the Fox label, once Disney bought it, is just pretty much disappeared. Like, because you've got Searchlight Pictures, which is part of Fox. But when was the last time you went to the cinema and saw the Searchlight banner pop up on something? And so that's just now gone. And so for a studio as big as that, you really don't want them to get rid of the name because it's an apparent name, because you don't want to end up doing a Fox. So we just don't know. I think no matter who actually gets them, Paramount if they get them, Netflix if they get them, blah blah, whoever gets them, they're going to make a pig's ear of it anyway because that's what that's what happens to it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, but I'm hoping Netflix don't get them. So let's get on to some movies then. What have you watched? Because your list is a damn sight longer than mine.
Yeah, 18, split it into main and quick hits. So I've got, I think if you can think of the biggest films that were released over the last like 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and I've seen them. So at least I can actually throw my thoughts out in regards to some of the big films. But some of the small films, for example, Hell House LLC Lineage, the last part in the Hell House franchise, that was thrown onto Shudder on Halloween on October the 31st. That's the last part of it. They did a rec. So with rec, the third one, 10 minutes of it was found footage. Then it completely dished all of that when she dropped the camera, and it turned into a normal film about a woman trying to kill or survive against zombies at a wedding. And they sort of revisited that in Rec 4. With Hell House Lineage, they just completely dropped the found footage aspect of it and just went to a normal film. Did it work? Absolutely not. It just felt like an absolutely bog standard, boring, pathetic excuse of a film in a way. Like it did, I'd had none of the oomph and the impact of the found footage elements of Hell House. Instead, it went with a boring, straightforward narrative, which absolutely made no sense. And it had an ending, despite this being the final chapter, which thinks, oh, there's going to be more. And so the ending was unresolved. So there's that. I know when Halloween dropped, there was obviously the indication that, oh, Halloween's the next Terrifier. Terrifier meets The Purge. And we went, are you an idiot? It definitely isn't the next Terrifier. Purge, maybe.
Purge,
Terrifier, no.
Yep, I'll go to bat for the Purge comparison, but yeah, Terrifier. I haven't seen Terrifier, but Terrifier is super gory. Halloween isn't. It's more like a Purge, stalker type movie. Good.
So I watched two films which sort of like falls more in the that's trying to be more like Terrifier, which is The Jester 2 and a film called Diced, DIE apostrophe CED Reloaded. Okay. So Jester 2, obviously sequel to a film that came out in 2023 called The Jester. The Jester was something which was trying to imitate the Terrifier, Art the Clown. It was just this entity or guy in a jester costume which tries to pull tricks on Halloween. He was, spoiler, he was defeated at the end of the first one, but comes back in the second one, seeking revenge, etc. It has a slightly more playful nature than the first one, but still, it's not really that good. It's like a throwaway kind of film, but it is slightly better than the first one. But the first one wasn't very good anyway. There is a couple of nice little tiny moments in The Jester 2, but it's completely forgettable. Whereas Diced Reloaded is supposedly a feature-length version of a film called Diced, which came out in 2023, about a serial killer who's released from a hospital, a state hospital kind of thing, goes on a killer rampage dressed up as a scarecrow on Halloween. Diced Reloaded is an abhorrent film. It is absolutely awful. Oops. It's one of those films where it ends and you don't realize you've actually sat there for an hour and 15 minutes. So the only good thing about it is it never feels its running time. However, what it fills that running time with is just absolute patheticness. There is a scene in the film where he kills somebody. So that's the way he escapes from the mental hospital itself. And so he killed somebody. And for about 3 minutes, he's just standing there with this block and he's bashing the person's head in. And you don't see him bash the person's head in, you just hear the squelchy noises. And for 3 minutes, it's just that. Him just smacking it down and just hearing squelchy noises for 3 minutes. They do it twice in the film because they can't think of anything more to actually fill the runtime in. The acting is awful, absolutely awful. The script is terrible. The motive behind what he's doing is just pathetically minimal. The whole experience is just, it's really bad.
Oh, no. And yet you never switched it off because you don't do that.
I don't do that. And then with inside the quick hits as well, there's a film on Amazon Prime called The Hem, which is a small little found footage film about a couple of people who investigate this abandoned warehouse place, which supposedly burnt down quite a few years ago. Originally was a church. The reason why it's called The Hem is because when they get inside there, there is tons and tons of wedding dresses which didn't burn for some reason. No matter every single time a fire occurs in this property, the wedding dresses do not burn, and they're wondering what's going on. And lo and behold, it's accosted by an evil spirit that waltzes around in a wedding dress. It's fine. Don't expect anything special. It's fine. I stumbled across it on Amazon Prime. I was bored for like 90 minutes. Thought I'll pop it on. It runs the 90 minutes. It doesn't do anything. It's a forgettable film. So that's called The Hem.
It sounds original, though. I can't think I've ever seen a film where it's a warehouse possessed by a spirit and it protects wedding dresses. So
yeah. Have you seen The Home? The
yes.
Pete Davison film.
I liked it, and it's got dumb horror logic in it. Like, you can go wherever you want, but don't go to the fourth floor. Hey, I'm going to go to the fourth floor. Don't be an idiot. You've been told that you can do anything else. Don't do that part. And then he does it, and then crazy shit happens. So it's filled with the weird horror logic. But as a film, I liked it. I enjoyed it. I had fun.
Yeah, I've seen it. I finally got around to see it. So what I originally said was that the film itself never finds a way out of being average, because I feel like that. So I did say Pete Davison does his best with a very stoic script and by the book story, no matter how strange things get, which it does in the last like 10, 15 minutes, completely flies off the handle. The film feels like it's muddled at times, using slight shock tactics to paste over the uneven gaps, which it does. As you said, it never does anything new in the usual thing that we do see from it, apart from in the last 10, 15 minutes to just go, Pete Davison, do you like gore? Do you want to go absolutely insane like a Nicolas Cage character or something like that? There you go, you do that.
Yep.
So it just goes absolutely insane. It's fine. Yeah, it's just fine.
I was thinking that it's like I think for me nowadays, most films that I watch, like most new ones, are just fine. I'm like, yeah, that was okay. What else am I going to do? I think there's very few films, even my top 10 films of the year that I'll end up putting together, they're not all, wow, that film was amazing. I absolutely love it. They're just like, they're the best ones I've seen this year. And most films to me now are fine. I find myself enjoying rewatching classic films more enjoyable than watching the new ones at the minute.
Yeah. And then a double bill as well. A film called Shelby Oaks, which you'll have probably heard of, the Chris Stuckman film.
Heard of it, not seen it.
A film called Dream Eater. So both of those films were films that I eagerly wanted to see, very eagerly wanted to see. There's another couple of films, Strange Harvest, which I'll get onto that a little bit later on, that I really did want to see. So Shelby Oaks, as a first film for Chris Stuckman, it's okay. You can tell that he's got a knowledge of horror films. But again, it's one of those films where it's just fine. It's forgettable in what it actually does because it doesn't do anything different to what we expect. It's just a woman returning to a town where something happened to a relative in that town, and she wants to discover what's happened. At the start of the film, pretends to be a found footage film / mockumentary kind of thing. And I think if he went down that route, it would have had more impact to it. But because, again, he goes down the route of the single narrative, it doesn't work for the film. I think it harms the film a little bit. And then in the last 10, 15 minutes of the film, again, it does something where it flies off the hand a little bit. Does it build up enough to actually use that flying off the handle? Not so much. So as a starting block, I can sort of like see where Chris Stuckman is going from. It's not a Raka, the Philippou brothers who did Talk to Me. So it's not that level. Definitely not that level. Because Bring Her Back and Talk to Me are absolutely amazing films, and I cannot wait to see what the Philippou brothers do next. Whereas I will see what Chris Stuckman does next. but it's nothing special. I would have actually much preferred it if he did try and do something more outlandish. But it's a good enough starting block. And then the only reason why I'm putting these both together because they've got very similar feel. Dream Eaters is a typical, usual film about a couple who go to a cabin in the woods to get away from normal life because something happens. In this case here, the husband in this couple suffers from parasomnia. So parasomnia means that he sleepwalks a lot. So he can't, but something else is seriously wrong with him when he's sleepwalking. So the film at the start of it, you sort of like hear an audio thing that he's ended up punching a window and he's pretty much ripped his arm open while he was being sleepwalking. So his psychiatrists have said, well, the best thing for you to do is to go off, spend some time away from normal life to see if the parasomnia will actually disperse, see if it's that. Like normal life is the thing that's sort of like affecting you. However, you discover that it's something else that's actually latching onto the parasomnia that he's suffering from that's affecting him more so than just him sleepwalking. And so throughout the film itself, it builds up the tension because it is a shaky cam found footage kind of film. It builds up the tension to see, oh, well, evil is happening more so. And it was billed as the scariest movie of the year, which instantly...
it's never wise, is it? No.
For me, it puts both red and green flag up in my head because the red flag going is, nope, you say that and it never happens. There's another film that I'm going to get on in a couple of seconds' time, which has got a moniker attached to it as well. So that never happens. And then a green flag is going, but it could. So you're thinking it could be the most scariest film of the year? Could this be the film that actually scares me?
Is there a film that springs to mind where you've seen the advertising tagline and it's like, actually, it has? You know, whether it's like, this is the goriest thing since such and such, or the scariest film since whatever. Has there ever been one where you're like, actually, they nailed that, they deserve that line?
Not the scariest, but goriest was probably Terrifier 3. Because when that is Terrifier 3 is on the absolute top end of an 18 certificate. Like, because the stuff that they do in Terrifier 3, the masturbation scene, for example, using a piece of glass, like you would definitely not, that's definitely not bottom level 18 certificate. It's like a really top end, and the scene in the mall involving the kids, like the stuff that Art the Clown gets away in that film, which is extreme top end 18. So when you see that and they go, oh, this is like probably one of the goriest 18 certificate films you'll see, then you do believe that one.
Okay.
So, but yeah, Terrifier 3, because there is another film that I'm going to, like I said, get onto in a couple of seconds' time, which is deemed as the goriest this film. So, and is it babies? But
what is that film then? Let's get onto that one.
I'll get onto in a second, just because with Dream Eater, it's not the scariest film that I've seen this year. It's definitely not. Is it tense? To some people, yes. I can see how that some people would be scared of it, that they would find it tense because it does build up tension. It's really good at doing that. The way the camera flows, the way the camera moves, sort of like it has that element to it, but it's not the scariest film. But it's definitely worth a watch. Right. The film in question is a film called Meat Kills.
Right.
So just by the name, you can sort of like get it. So it's a Dutch film. So it's the first Dutch film to be given the dreaded NC-17 in America. So you know that NC-17 is a nail in the coffin for that film to be shown in cinemas, which is the reason why Screenbox in America picked it up. So I don't even know why it was given an age certificate when it was on Screenbox, and Terrifier was released unrated. So, but there's that. It's the first Dutch film as well, Dutch horror film, to be given their 18 plus certificate. So that's their one, which is a nail in the coffin. If you can think of the film, because you've seen the film Frontiers, or Frontier is the French name of it.
Yeah. That's
part of the French extremes. So the very, very high violent French horror films. And so this is Dutch. It centers around a group of activists who invade this meat factory where they kill pigs for bacon and food and meat. And they try to scare the owners of this factory to stop them doing what they're doing. However, it turns out that the father of this family has completely a different idea of what he's going to do to these activists. So
Yeah.
it is that old school, let's torture them in gory fashion kind of state. But this is my slight problem with it. The gore in that is quite high, but it doesn't even reach the echelons of the French extreme gore films, of things like Frontiers and Inside and In My Skin and High Tension, Switchblade Romance, as we call it. Any of those kind of films, because those ones are not afraid to show gore. For example, spoiler slightly for Inside, the scissor scene.
That's insane, that film. It's like, if anybody ever says to me, what's the craziest horror film you've ever seen? Inside springs to mind. I love that movie, but it's relentless, that movie. But it's so good.
So you've got the scissor scene. And so in this, you do see people getting mutilated. There is a scene which somebody gets absolutely mutilated, but you don't see him get mutilated. You hear the noises and you see the aftermath, so body parts and entrails and stuff like that fall to the ground. You see that, and then the body parts get put into a trolley to be taken away to be destroyed. So you see that, but you see those parts, but you don't actually see the original lead up to it. There's another scene which involves a girl that she gets eaten alive by a pig. So you remember the scene in, was it one of the Hannibal films?
Yeah,
Where the boar
Ridley Scott
bites into his head. You hear the crunch like somebody is biting into an apple, and you see sort of like the start of it. With this, you get that feeling as well, but you don't actually see it happen. So then I'm thinking, how is this getting an NC-17 or 18 plus then? Because if that's the case, then Terrifier must be an X or a banned film. Because again, leading back to Terrifier, you see more in that. The French extreme films, even going into the realms of Germany with things like the kind of films that Germany releases, or a Serbian film as well, shows more extremes.
I think it's a bit like, it's like the Reservoir Dogs, the Michael Madsen stuck in the middle with you scene, or Scarface with the chainsaw, is you don't see what you think you're actually seeing.
Yeah.
And that disturbs you even more than it would if you did see it. So therefore, these people are coming out of test screenings or whatever going, that is the most goriest thing I've ever seen. Even though if they sit back and think about it, they haven't really seen what they thought they had.
Yeah. So it's a watchable film. I'm not saying it's a bad film, because those kind of films, when they get them right, they do work. Because you look at things like Frontiers, etc., and on paper, it seems like a very simple thing that we've seen before. An invasion film where the people who they're invading are actually going to fight back in a nasty fashion. And so it's sort of like, if you like those kind of films and you understand those kind of films, then Meat Kills is worth a watch. But it's not the extreme film that the label attached itself to. And then two other quick films to mention: In Your Dreams, which is an animated film on Netflix about two children need the help of the Sandman to try and get their mother and father back together. Animation's nice in it. It's for younger audiences. You've got the silly sort of like fart joke kind of level of jokes in it. There is a psychopathic cupcake that's been hidden behind a fridge, and it's got sentient, and that has the humorous moments in it, which made me giggle a little bit, because I do find that kind of humor slightly silly, but it does work. So it's fine for kids. And then Queens of the Dead.
Okay.
Which is George A. Romero's daughter.
Oh, right. Okay. Yep. I remember hearing about that film coming out. I'd forgotten the title, though. So, yeah.
Yeah, Queens of the Dead. So I've seen that. It's a bog standard, by the books kind of splash of absolute neon color horror film. She needed to do a lot more to bring the sort of like the zombie biting people's heads, gore all over the place audience to actually be on her side with this. Its biggest sort of like difference is the fact that it's mainly aimed at the LGBT community, because that's what it is. All characters in this film, bar one, is part of the LGBT community. There is a bouncer who plays an important part in the film, who's the token straight guy. Normally you have the token gay guy or the token lesbian or the token black person, and this one, it's a token straight person. And so the rest are part of that community, and it is just about zombies that they need to try and survive. It tries to use humor to help it. The humor doesn't work because me and humor, we don't shake hands. It doesn't appease to the gore hounds neither, because there's very little gore in it for a zombie film. There is a couple of scenes of zombie chomping down on people, but it never fully goes, you know what, let's throw gore at you, which I think with a zombie film, you have to go down that route for it to work. Not always, because films like Warm Bodies and Fido, I think those work in the sort of like the avenues that they follow down. Warm Bodies is meant as a relationship. It's a zombie rom-com in a way. Fido is obviously that Billy Connolly film where he plays a pet zombie. So there is that one. And then obviously you're starting to leading into games like a Shaun of the Dead, which sort of like bridges the gap between comedy and horror, and they do get the gore right in that one, and they do get the comedy. And then you go into the realms of the Return of the Living Deads and all that kind of stuff where it just goes, there's gore and some humor. But this one, it never knows what lane it wants to actually go down. And it doesn't, unfortunately, get down that lane properly. It only sort of like tiptoes down it and go, let's add a sprinkle of gore because it's zombies. Let's add some humor because the homosexual characters who make jibes and jokes about homosexuality and how camp and gay they can actually be. So as a first film, considering it's the daughter of a well-renowned director in the zombie genre, you would have expected a lot more. So, like with Chris Stuckman, whatever she comes out next, I'll watch, because anything with zombies in, I'll watch. So I will watch it, but it's nothing special to kick off your career.
Which is your ultimate favorite zombie movie?
I love Return of the Living Dead. Because Return of the Living Dead 1, 2, and 3, I love Return of the Living Dead 3. But Return of the Living Dead 1, 2, and 3 have a little soft spot on it, because I personally think they are super cheesy.
Yeah.
Like extremely cheesy, but they get the tone right. And then Brain Dead. Like Brain Dead is one of my favorite Peter Jackson films.
That made me feel nauseous, that film, when I watched it the first time.
I love it.
I'm like, I feel queasy.
Outside of Lord of the Rings, I think Peter Jackson's best two films are Brain Dead and The Frighteners. I love The Frighteners. I think that's a phenomenal film. Again, the humor is spot on with The Frighteners. But yeah, so Brain Dead and Return of the Living Dead for me.
Okay. I think for me,
two favorite zombies.
Night of the Living Dead, for me, the classic one. The Sadness, can I have that as a zombie film? I think that's like a zombie rage type thing, that, isn't it?
No, it's not a zombie film. It's a virus movie.
Yeah, that's an insane movie. I love that movie. So good. But yeah, Night of the Living Dead. I love the original Romero stuff for me.
That's me. Quick hits. They're actually making another Return of the Living Dead film. It's coming out next year. They're also there is another one of those movies which falls into the Twisted Nightmare children's ones. You know, when we've seen all these Winnie the Pooh films and the Mickey Mouse movies. There is another one that was released this year, but I watched the trailer of it and I just went, I've drawn the line. It's based on Captain Hook.
What's it called?
It's called Captain Hook. So it's based on the Hook character, but it looked absolutely atrocious, and so the trailer was enough. But then there's a Kickstarter for a film that's coming out next year, which is Winnie versus Minnie, Winnie versus Mickey. And it's sort of like them, but even more nasty and horrific and stuff like that. And so it's a concept trailer that's out because the film hasn't even begun shooting. So it begins shooting next year, as long as they can hit their Kickstarter. So there's that, and then obviously we've got the Pinocchio film, Pinocchio Unstrung, and we've got the Pooniverse film that's coming out next year, and then we'll have even more of those. But I think I've had enough of those for now this year.
I had enough after the first Winnie the Pooh film. I will defend it to a certain extent, but I never really progressed beyond that. There's plenty of
Again,
other films I want to watch.
if you haven't seen it, I do recommend Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmares, because out of them all, that's easily the strongest one. And I actually quite liked Peter Pan Neverland Nightmares because the guy who they got to play Peter Pan does a really good job of it. So I do recommend that one, Peter Pan Neverland Nightmares. I think it's either on Prime or Tubi. It's on one of those two. But I do recommend that one.
There's a Betty Boop film coming out as well, isn't there?
There is,
it's like,
yes.
It's never ending. But if these films if they make money, then fair play to them.
The Betty Boop one is slightly intriguing. I'm intrigued by the Betty Boop one. So we'll see. But that's my quick hitters. That's all the quick little hitters. And then the rest of the films I've got on my list are all the big releases.
All I've been watching this week, let's say I've been watching Stranger Things, a rewatch of that. I've been rewatching a TV show called The Shield, which I absolutely love that. 88 episodes, I think, and I've got about 4 left. And then I've watched the entire lot in the past month. Love that show. Tulsa King. And I decided I'm going to rewatch JFK, the Costner one. I haven't seen that in a while. For some reason, I'm just like, I want to watch that for 3 hours and 10 minutes. So I sat down the other day and watched that. Absolutely love that film. And then this morning, I'm like, do you know what I haven't seen in a while? The Rise of Skywalker. One of my least favorite Star Wars movies. So I put it on. It's fine. There's some nice shots in it. It's not great. I'm not a massive fan of it. It's the only Star Wars film I don't own on physical media. And I put a thing on Facebook going, I've just decided to rewatch Rise of Skywalker. I wasn't a real fan of it when it came out, but I'm going to rewatch it because it's been 6 years. My God, the comments are still going. People really don't like that film. They're just, I've had people saying, am I okay? Do I need help? Do I need somebody to talk to? It's like, I'm only rewatching a film that I've not seen for 6 years. It's hardly therapy.
Are you okay? Do you need help? Do you actually need somebody to talk to?
No, I don't think so. I mean, we're talking, so maybe it was a yes, subliminal. But it's like, come on, guys, it's only a film. It's not a great film. But
this is your therapy session. Tell me how the Rise of Skywalker affected you mentally.
It affected me mentally because it's like when you're doing a trilogy of films, for the love of God, will you have a plan? Have a plan when you're doing a trilogy. You don't just wing it from film to film. Is pretty much what I learned from the sequel. I really like The Force Awakens. I'm not a massive fan of The Last Jedi, even though there's some really good-looking shots in it. And Rise of Skywalker's great until like the Emperor just comes back. He's like, "Hey, I'm back." You're like, well, I thought you died. Nope, I didn't die. I'm back. What? Crazy.
Surprise, surprise. Even George Lucas is not the only person who can absolutely destroy a franchise. So,
no, not at all. So I enjoy rewatching older stuff. I also rewatched an old Kubrick film, Barry Lyndon, which I got on 4K Blu-ray. On paper, Barry Lyndon is a film that I shouldn't really like. It's 3 hours, it's a PG, and it's a period drama, and it's just about following a guy's life as he, goes through life. But my God, this film is stunning to look at. The cinema, it's Kubrick, isn't it? So he probably did about 1 million takes for each shot. But it looks absolutely amazing. And then the other one, all
I was just going to say is I've got a film that I am going to talk about a little bit later on, which if you like Barry Lyndon for its cinematography and stuff like that, you are going to absolutely fall in love with this film that I'm going to mention a little bit later on.
Good. And then the other one that I've got lined up to watch is The Life of Chuck, which I've got the Blu-ray for as well. Can't go wrong with a Mike Flanagan movie, can you?
Nope.
So, and that's pretty much all I've watched. I've either been playing Stray or watching old films that are really long or rewatching TV shows. So, quiet week for me.
Yep. And then I've got another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 films.
Well, let's do Frankenstein because you're a huge Del Toro fan. I'm sure you were very, very excited to watch Frankenstein.
Yeah, as you mentioned there, huge Del Toro fan. I can even forgive him for his worst films. Never mind, sort of like celebrate him for his best films. I know a lot of people weren't a fan of things like Crimson Peak,
I like that.
which I really like Crimson Peak because
Yeah.
of its style and its motive. Even films like Species and like people are not a fan of that. Not Species.
Mimic.
Mimic.
I enjoyed
Yes, you knew
Mimic.
which
Yeah, I
you
like
knew which
Mimic.
one I was thinking about there.
Yeah,
Um,
I like that.
compared to the second and third entries in the Mimic franchise, Mimic is an absolute masterpiece
Mm.
because the second and third films are well, the third film is absolutely awful. I'm not a fan of Mimic 3. But yeah, even if you look at Del Toro's smaller films, for me, I'll still defend him because he knows how to get me, in other words. Like Del Toro has a style. He has a way of shooting these films and the opulence and just bravado and just the acting is always on point with Del Toro films. And for the most part, Frankenstein falls into that as well. Frankenstein is, for the most part, a typical Del Toro film. The only thing that I sort of like had a sort of misgiving in regards to it was the fact that Del Toro has been wanting to make this film for decades. And I would have thought that it would have been special once it's actually seen the light of day.
Mm.
It's not. It's very good, but it's not special Del Toro. And the reason like that for me is the first half feels slightly disjointed from its second half. Like the first half explores Victor Frankenstein. So him creating the monster, relationships that Victor Frankenstein has, and so with Mia Goth's character in this case in this film. And then because the story is told from Victor Frankenstein's point of view, as he's rescued on the snowy tundra after a ship has been sort of like blocked or stopped because of ice surrounding it. And so he's sort of like chased by the monster and rescued by the crew of the ship. And so he tells his story before ultimately he might end up being killed or being tracked down by the monster himself. And so he tells his story. And so the first half of the film, you see the sort of like decadence of what Victor Frankenstein lived in, the money and the help that he actually gets from Christoph Waltz's character, who is sort of like rich and is willing to pay for bodies to be found from wars so that could be used in experiments to create artificial life by Victor Frankenstein. It's a story we've seen before. We've seen that story multiple times and from the Frankenstein oeuvre before. The second half of the film is where I personally think that Del Toro's ideas come into fruition because it's mainly told from the Frankenstein's monster's point of view about him getting sentience, being able to speak, him trying to sort of like find a life for himself. So after escaping the clutches of Victor Frankenstein, he goes off on the run. And the monster is able to then he finds this house where he lives in a part of the house itself where the owners of the house do not know that he's living there. And that's where he picks up speech from the little girl who's able to read stories. And then he befriends an old person living in that house after the family go away for the winter. And so that's where he's able to get sentience. And that's where the interest falls in there from from Jacob Elordi, who plays the Frankenstein's monster, and I think he plays it brilliantly. That's where the heart and, no pun intended, the life of the film lies in the last hour and a bit, and then it's brought together for its ultimate conclusion. So it's not up there with Del Toro's best, but again,
Okay.
not up there with Del Toro's best is still a 4-star film. So it shows you the kind of level of a director that Del Toro sort of like works in. Because if his worst is a 4-star, then
Yeah.
it's top
Yeah.
stuff.
It does,
Sorry.
doesn't it? It's like I'm struggling to think of a film by Del Toro that I watched and didn't like. I mean, I like Pacific Rim, Crimson Peak. I haven't seen Devil's Backbone or Kronos. So those are some Del Toro films I haven't seen. But yeah, I don't think there has been a Del Toro film when I'm like, well, that was terrible. Maybe there is one, but I just don't think I've seen it.
Back from being dead there, from
Coughing,
getting
yep.
that stupid cough. The Devil's Backbone is superb. It's absolutely
Right.
superb. Kronos as well is creepy. You can see where Del Toro's sort of like dark style comes from Kronos. It's got Ron Perlman in it, and it's vampiric about this thing that attaches to somebody's hand and sucks blood. But it's very dark and very creepy and very malevolent. I highly recommend Kronos as well.
Okay.
So Pacific Rim, I loved Pacific Rim.
Same.
Didn't like the sequel. The sequel's
Second one was
awful.
terrible. Yeah, I never finished the second one. I got halfway through and I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I'm all right. Don't need to
I
watch
think Pacific Rim is Del Toro at his more playfulness.
it. Yeah.
But yeah, as I said, a 4-star Del Toro film, and me seeing it's not up there with his best. That's sort of like a lot of directors would kill for a 4-star film.
They
Never
would.
mind, not up there with their best.
Yeah, they would.
So that's Frankenstein. It's on Netflix for people to watch.
Yeah.
One film I do want to get out the way with, and then I can go through things like Predator, Badlands, The Running Man, things like that. A film called Strange Harvest. So out of all the horror films this year, that was the one I was mostly looking forward to. And that's the one where I went back to the old times of renting it.
Yep.
So I rented the film. I rented it on from the Google Play Store so I could watch it on YouTube. Because I couldn't wait for it to drop on a platform like an Amazon Prime or a Netflix or something like that. So I wanted to watch it. It's a mockumentary horror film. It's a mockumentary serial killer. So it's about the serial killer over the course of a couple of decades who is killing people for some apparent reason. So we find out through the film as to why he's killing people. It's down to a cult, in other words. But the killings that he's doing are extremely graphic and very nasty. And he wears this mask to hide his appearance because obviously he doesn't want people to know who exactly he is. However, throughout the decades, during these police investigations, he is sort of like this mask is dropping. So he is making mistakes where they're able to actually find who he is. Like I said, it's all told in a mockumentary kind of way. It's like you're seeing interviews with police officers and you're seeing sort of like some of the outcomes of the murders. You don't technically see the murders themselves taking place. In some areas you do. For example, there's one which involves a girl on a webcam. She's sort of like doing a normal tutorial makeup video on YouTube, of all places. And so she hears a noise, and then that's when he charges in and supposedly kills her. But that's one of the mistakes that he makes. It's not a spoiler, it's in the trailer. It's one of the mistakes that he makes because you think that she's dead, but she's not the only survivor from what he's done. It's a very interesting film. Taking a serial killer movie, doing the mockumentary one of it, and make it feel real. So I do recommend it when it does pop up on Amazon Prime and a Netflix or somewhere like that. But I was so eager to watch it because I really wanted to see it because the trailer of it is outstanding. So I do recommend Strange Harvest when it does actually drop.
See, I don't mind throwing a few quid to rent a film now and again. I don't do it all the time, but if there's a film when I'm like, you know what? Yeah, why not? I've had a good week. I've got a few quid left. Let me just rent a film. It gives the
Yeah,
filmmakers a little bit of extra money as well. But yeah, nothing wrong with that.
I do recommend it. Then on to the biggies. So Predator Badlands.
Mm-hmm.
Dan Trachtenberg's latest foray into the Predator franchise, which a lot of people are sort of like hailing him as being the savior of the Predator franchise because he did Prey, and then he did Killer of Killers, which is the animated one on Disney Plus. And now he's done Predator Badlands, which he says he wants to make a trilogy of films, and has me thinking, you've done that? Yeah, technically, you've actually done more than a trilogy because Killer of Killers is 3. It's like 3 short stories in one. So technically, you've done 5 films. But obviously, he meant live action. So this one is sort of like a more toned down version of a Predator film because it's a 12A. and it centers around a predator dropped on this planet because he wants to try and be the ultimate predator, and going after the ultimate prize to prove to his father that he can actually do it. It's a very good action film, a very bad predator film.
Okay.
So if you're expecting a predator film in the guise of the Arnies and Predator 2s, and don't. You're not going to get the gore of those, because all enemies that get killed in this are either synths or monsters.
Which is why it's a 12A, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because there's not one drop of human blood in the film. Mm-hmm. Because everybody who gets killed, there isn't a human character in the film. All of them are either synths or predators, or these creatures, etc. So it's a good action film. It's one of those ones where it does enough easily to pass the time away, to keep you engrossed. It has its humor when it needs to have its humor. The action set pieces are actually very well choreographed and very well created. I think he's done this to broaden the horizons of it. However, he's sort of locked himself in a box a little bit. But yeah, we've got Killer of Killers, which is the animated one where you do see gore and things like that. By sanitizing the Predator franchise for the big screen, you're now going to expect that the next film to be sort of like on the same kind of level. Because if he does go down the gore route where we do see humans get killed, it'll alienate the audience that he's garnered for Predator Badlands, because they won't be able to go see it in the cinemas if the next one is a 15 certificate.
It's the same thing that happened with RoboCop, isn't it? Obviously, you get the Paul Verhoeven RoboCop, super violent. Number 2, not as violent. Number 3 was like, family friendly. And then you got RoboCop TV shows and cartoons and stuff like that. And it's like, well, like you said, you've just sanitized what made that franchise so special in the first place. Got a question for you though. Are the human characters in Badlands?
No, none. So not a single human character.
How does the film handle people talking, or creatures talking to each other? Is it subtitled, or is it?
A little bit. A little bit of it is subtitled, but because of the Dakota Fanning character, she is sort of like reliving it. So she speaks English. She plays a synth. She plays 2 synths, because the Weyland-Yutani Corporation is involved. They've created the synths, very similar to a bishop, etc. They've sent the synths down to this planet where the Predator character is on the planet to find his ultimate prize, because they want the same prize, because that creature has the ability to not be killed. Like, as soon as you chop off a limb, it is able to regrow it back. They want what's in that creature, so then they can give it to humans to be able to regrow cells within humans. So they send the ones who go down on the planet are all synths, very similar to Bishop. So she really is it across in English, because you do get some subtitles for the Predator's language, but there is a lot of English in it as well.
Okay. Yep. I just had visions of it being like a silent movie, sort of, when it comes to dialogue, and I'm like, I forgot about the synths.
So yeah, as I said, it works as an action film. For a Predator film, for the Predator fans, it doesn't work as a Predator film. But I still trust Dan Trachtenberg, because I think he's a good director anyway, so he's got a good vision.
Yeah. And he's trying different things, isn't he? So it's some are going to work, some aren't.
I'm hoping that he does go back to a Prey kind of area as well, if he does. But I'm hoping also for him that he's not always attached to the Predator franchise, because then it could become steel again. So we'll see.
Yeah.
So there's that. The Running Man, which is the new one, Edgar Wright's new film. Based on the book more so than the Schwarzenegger 87, was it?
87, the film came out. I think the book was 82 or 83, I think, if I remember rightly enough. Yeah.
So the 87 film, Stephen King hated, because it absolutely destroyed the book. It took small ideas of the book, but didn't do very much with it. This one, Stephen King sort of like gave his blessing for it, because Edgar Wright had multiple conversation with King, and he said, you're getting the sort of like the feel of the book more so with this film. So this one does take a lot of elements from the book itself. It is more expansive rather than the closed off film of the feel of the 87 one. This one is actually somebody on the run for 30 days and who is chased down by anybody in a society where $100 is what the currency is, feels like somebody who's got $100 million in our normal day society. What's also interesting is the fact that the book is set in 2025 and this film came out in 2025, which Edgar Wright was only given a short period of time to get the film shot and edited together and finished. As a matter of fact, he only finished the editing of the film 2 weeks before its theatrical release, because the film only started to shoot early this year. So he managed to get it all turned around in the space of a year to get it out in the year when the book is set. And so it is just set in 2025, somebody on the run for 30 days, chased down by a lot of people so he can win some money to help his family. And that's pretty much the book itself. And so it's an action film. If you're a fan of these over-the-top bombastic action films with some action set pieces, over-the-top action set pieces, you'll enjoy it. Got a little bit of humor here and there throughout the film. Action films are not always my cup of tea, but it was passable. It was watchable. It's sort of like, it's one of those films where it falls in the 3-star category for me. Like, it's never going to trouble the best of the year and the worst of the year. It's just going to be there. And so for people who didn't like the original Running Man, and if you wanted something more in line with the book, you'll enjoy this a hell of a lot more, because it is more in line with the book.
The big mistake that people seem to be doing online is thinking this is a remake of the Arnie movie, and it's not. It's not a remake of the Arnie movie at all. The original book, like you said, is more in line with this Edgar Wright version. And originally it was going to be Christopher Reeve that was going to be in the Arnie one. Mm-hmm. So he was attached for a while. That film didn't happen. Somebody got the script to Arnie. Arnie's like, I'd like to do that. So then the whole damn thing got retailored to become an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, rather than an adaptation of the Richard Bachman book. Yeah. And it's like, you see a lot of people online go, oh, I prefer the original one. It's like, it's not an original one. It's, shut up. This is the first adaptation, the first proper adaptation of the Bachman / Stephen King book. Not a remake of the Arnie movie, but they just you can't educate the internet. I've tried. I've failed miserably. But it's very different. I love the Arnie film. I think it's great. I think it's stupid, but it's enjoyable. I'm looking forward to watching this Glenn Powell one. But I'm not expecting, operatic buzzsaw wielding, killers or whatever. But looks interesting.
Yeah, because Glenn Powell obviously has established himself more so of being the old school action hero. Yeah. Because Twisters, for example, and then you've got this, and so he's got that charismatic charm to sort of like fill those boots in of the old school action heroes of the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and so he does. It's really good casting on that front.
He's more in every man, isn't he? Whereas we can watch Arnie films all we want. We don't go, I can relate to him. We can't relate to Arnie, but can kind of relate to Glenn Powell, sort of.
Well, yeah, if I had a body like Glenn Powell, I would definitely be waltzing around in the smallest towel possible, like he does in this one as well. So
would I. Yeah.
And then Now You See Me, Now You Don't.
Oh, I felt like with the second one. I like number one, but I did not like number two. And interesting to hear your thoughts on the third one.
Number three has more of a feel of number one. Number two was sort of like, oh, we've tripped and fell. Let's forget about it. Number three has sort of like got the feel of it, but it is still like a 2-star kind of feel of a film. Like, I think the Horsemen have had their deer in the sun. Like, the first film is again, it feels it's got an old-fashioned feel to it. The first one. And it should have just been a one and done. Like, we've had 3 different directors. This one's directed by Ruben Fleischer, who did Zombieland. And it's not just now centered on the Horsemen, that they needed a way of being able to branch it out a little bit more. So you've got these 3 people who sort of like the mini Horsemen in a way, who is then
Shetland pony horseman.
Yeah. who was accosted by Jesse Eisenberg's character because he's been asked by the society with inside the film itself to seek help to be able to steal this diamond, which is worth $500 million, so they can rob from the rich and give to the poor, in a way, the horseman / Robin Hood situation. And they've run out of ideas. Like, this feels like more of an escape room film, with a little bit of magic on top. And then obviously its ultimate thing that these films have is, let's sort of like expose on how these tricks are actually done. So again, it's not spoilers, because if you've seen the previous two, you know how the last 10-15 minutes of the film is going to be. It's like the Saw feeling. Like, in the last 10 minutes of Saw, you're going to get the explanation on how he managed to pull off what he did.
Yeah.
That's the same with Now You See Me, Now You Don't. It goes, oh, let's explain on how we managed to pull this switcheroo around with the main bad guy in the movie, and steal this diamond, and let's have a twist. And the twist, you can see it 100 miles away. And the explanation is just going, you're clutching at straws now. Like, it isn't even sort of like a grandiosa. Like, you do see a couple of the grandiosa tricks. For example, there's a helicopter scene where, when they've been chased down and they get to the roof, and they're hoping that the people who was chasing them down finds a helicopter, but it's a cardboard cutout of one,
Right.
and they've escaped some other way. And so you do see those kind of things, but considering the sleight of hand magic tricks and things like that that you've seen in the first one, and even in the second one, and the best sleight of hand you can do is have a character whose main weapon is cards. He thinks that he's a Timu version of Gambit.
Yeah.
It just, it really, really does feel its age already. So no, it's not worth watching.
No, I'm skipping that one.
Keeper, which is the second Osgood Perkins film of the year, because he did The Monkey, based on a Stephen King novel, and he did Longlegs, which came out last year. Keeper is a more restrained movie, so it's a more pulled back film. Again, it's that typical thing. So stop me if you've heard this before. A couple decide to go to not a cabin in the woods, this absolutely lovely home in the middle of nowhere, just to sort of like relax for the week.
Brilliant.
And then
what could possibly go wrong?
Strange things occur. Like, you discover that dark secrets are afoot. And so it's more reeled back for Osgood Perkins, because The Monkey is an insane trip. And I like The Monkey. And Longlegs, I'll defend Longlegs as well, because Longlegs, I think, is a really good film. It reminded me of the Buffalo Bill, sort of like Hannibal Lecter kind of tracking down a serial killer movie. This one, because it is about a couple, which, as I said, dark secrets might arise, whether it be the house or whether it be something to do with one of the members of this couple, have got something that they're not actually revealing. It's a more real back. And then in the last 10-15 minutes, it goes batshit crazy Osgood Perkins stuff. It's, out of the three, it's the worst out of the three of Osgood Perkins films. But if you liked Longlegs, and if you liked The Monkey, I still do recommend Keeper. It is definitely worth a watch.
Cool. I will add Keeper. I didn't even know that film. So there you go.
Two more. Next one, Wicked for Good. Yes, I have seen the second part of Wicked.
What did you think of Wicked 1, the first one?
It was a musical that was trying to get the feel of, and the bravado of, old school musicals that we used to watch as a kid, like a Chitty Chitty Bang Bang and a Bedknobs and Broomsticks and things like that. Sound of Music, King and I, that was able to meld a drama or a movie together with musical numbers. And now when musicals try to do that, it falls flat on its arse. Like The Greatest Showman, the storyline of The Greatest Showman is very basic and very boring. The musical numbers thing that saves it. Wicked is obviously based on the stage play and based on the book, which is a prequel to The Wizard of Oz, which The Wizard of Oz happens in Wicked for Good. But it is based on that, on how Elphaba meets up with Glinda and how they originally became friends, and then ultimately that disjoints themselves from each other because Elphaba, in her green skin state, is pushed out of society and deemed to be a witch. And whereas Glinda is lauded upon because she deems to be a savior.
Even though she's a witch.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that she has no powers.
No.
Whereas Elphaba does have powers. So she's somebody who's a witch, but a phony version of a witch. So she's never a witch because that, for example, in The Wizard of Oz, the bubble that she's able to actually float in Wicked for Good is explained as a platform that has a button that she presses for the bubble to go around. And so it's an illusion, like Now You See Me.
Yeah.
And Wicked, I thought was fine. I thought Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo sort of like establish Elphaba and Glinda as their own, which that's what they had to do. Like even if they just marginally did it, it would have failed. But because they established them as their characters, as their versions of it, and it worked because Cynthia Erivo has a phenomenal voice. I'm not a huge fan of Ariana Grande, but she did a really good job as Glinda because she didn't need to be saccharine and sugary and stuff like that. And so for the first one, it was fine. It was watchable. For Wicked for Good, it was pointless making it because if you've seen the stage show of Wicked, the second act was the weakest part. And this is the weakest part out of the two easily. Because the musical numbers don't have any punch, like the original songs, there's two original songs separate from the stage play, and they don't have any impact to it, like the way the songs had an impact in the first one. The story is very boring and very sedate. Like it is just Elphaba is now she's completely disjointed from society, absolutely pushed out. Everybody believes that she is the person there to destroy them, to kill them all. When in fact we know she's there to stop the Grand Wizard, played by Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah.
That's our whole point, to prove how much of a fraud he actually is, that he is just a man behind the curtain rather than just a giant floating head. And so that's the whole plight and the whole plot of the film, and it's just very like written on a napkin, like a couple of lines of like this is what we're going to do, and so it needs to heavily rely on the songs, and the songs don't add impact.
Because there isn't, from what I've led to believe, there isn't a song in Wicked for Good as powerful as Defying Gravity was in the first movie.
Yeah,
which apparently is
Unlimited.
why they ended the first one where they did. They were like, that's the high point. Everything else is kind of downhill from here onwards. So let's split it into two and do it that way.
You've got Unlimited, which is the song which is trying to be Defying Gravity. But Defying Gravity is obviously when somebody sings a song from Wicked, that's the one to go to straight away. And then Unlimited might be the next one. So they've got that. But it has its saccharine nature in the first 20 minutes, which I don't like. I'm not a fan of just being absolutely thrown candy at your face. And then it goes into dark territories, but those dark territories are not even dark. It's just like if somebody switched a light off. And then that's it. There is no impact there. There's no pull. But no matter what anybody sees, this is going to easily pass the billion. Easily.
Yeah.
Because my cinema has got 12 screens, and over half the screens have got Wicked for Good on them. Because even though there is other new releases out this week, The Carpenter's Son, which is the new Nicolas Cage film, which is blasphemy in the eyes of Christians because it tells a different story of Christianity.
How dare they? How dare they tell a different opinion?
You've got the sequel to Sisu. That's out in cinemas. But my cinema is not showing it because it thinks that it needs to show Wicked in 6-7 screens, which it doesn't need to. And so it's going to absolutely do gangbusters no matter what anybody sees.
Yeah.
However, as a film that is, it's nowhere near the goodness of an old school musical. Give me an old school musical. Give me a Bedknobs and Broomsticks. Give me a Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Those are the ones who are able to get story and songs perfectly aligned together. This feels like it's story in one hand, songs in another, but they can't clap and they can't bring them together to have that fun nature to it. So,
is it a film? Because obviously it's the second part of Wicked.
Yeah.
Is it a film where you would recommend rewatching or watching Wicked 1 and then go and watching number 2, or is there some sort of recap so you could go into number 2, kind of remember Wicked but not everything, and I'll be
There is no
fine.
recap. There is no
Right.
I would suggest, because it is a continuation on what actually happened at the end of Wicked Part One, with Elphaba obviously having to disconnect herself from Glinda, and
Yeah.
Glinda having to put on this face, this facade, to show that she is the ultimate savior of nothing in a way, because these people who live in this town where they are, I've got the wrong end of a stick, because they're getting fed lies from two people who they believe. And so it is best to watch part one. You have to watch
Right.
part one to get what's happening in
Oh yeah,
part
yeah.
two.
It's just
I don't recommend part two on its own.
because it's been like a year since I saw part one, and part one, I'm not a huge musical fan. There is an exception. There's a few exceptions, be it Grease or Greatest Showman
Mhm.
or something, or Sweeney Todd. But I put Wicked on because it was a big film at the time, and I'm like, I'll watch it. And then within 5 minutes, I'm like, it's not really for me because it is a full-on musical.
You'll
But
not
then
like
about
this then.
but then about 10 minutes into it, I realized I put my phone down and I was watching Wicked for the duration. And it got to the end, I'm like, actually, I really like that one. So I did end up accidentally enjoying the film.
Yeah, in that case, you might find elements of Wicked for Good watchable, but
Yeah,
it's not up there with the first one.
no,
And then the last film, and it's the film that I said that this is the one where I think you would like. It's on Netflix. It's called Train Dreams.
okay, not heard of it.
It's got
No,
Joel Edgerton in it. It's directed by Clint Bentley, who did Sing Sing, which
right,
Sing Sing is actually a really good film. And it's set in the early 1900s. It's about a logger who lives with his wife and daughter in the middle of a forest, in the middle of nowhere. And the whole thing that he brings in is, with him being a logger, back then in the early 1900s, because there was no automated way of logging forests for their wood, for houses, and whatever they needed to use for, loggers were paid very high wages to actually cut down trees and supply all of this. And so that's his job. He goes away for periods of time to be able to actually get money so his family can live.
hmm,
And so it follows his life. And so the trials, tribulations, the downfalls of his life, the ups and downs, etc. And so the first half of the film, something happens in the first half of the film, which has an effect on his mannerisms and the way he acts in the latter half of the film. It's not a brutal film because it's only rated 12 just because of a couple of small little scenes in the film itself. But without those scenes, it would have easily been a PG,
yeah,
because it's not a threatening film. That it's a film that it's a gentle movie. It's a very
yeah,
calm movie. It's a very one of those kind of comfort films in a way. It's a movie that, like you said with Wicked, you were
yeah,
on your phone, and then after the 10 minutes, you pop your phone down and you were concentrating on it. This is
yeah,
one of those films where you instantly just grabbed hold of. And I have seen a few people say it's very Terrence Malick like. And for me, that's a
yeah,
negative,
yeah.
because I'm not a fan
Yeah,
of Malick's films.
I really like Thin Red Line. I love that movie, but most of the other Terrence Malick films, other than Badlands, I'm not a huge fan of. But yeah, and when
Because
somebody says it's Malick-like, I'm like, yeah, I can kind of get what
he
they're saying on that.
has Malick has, in his last few films, has a more meandering kind of stoic feel to his films.
Yeah,
And this one here, it's a very, very simple film about the life of one man played by Joel Edgerton. And it has a stoic feel. It's shot in 1:4:3:1, which is a normal aspect ratio of 4:3. So it's
hmm,
shot in the square aspect ratio on 35mm. And the cinematography is absolutely superb. It's for me, if I was sort of like giving out awards for the best of the year, it's the best cinematography I've seen in a film this year. It is absolutely beautiful to look at. There are simple scenes where he's just sitting there, and you've got candlelight or firelight, and it's lighting up his face in the areas where it needs to be lit up, and there's areas of his face where it's dark, and you see the shimmering shines of the light of it. And there is a scene where he looks up at the sky and he sees a comet just specifically in the sky, and the sky has a painting kind of feel to it. There's a scene where he's in an old fire watchtower. Um, and he's just looking out on it, and he's having a conversation with somebody, and they see that this is what life can actually be like. You look onto the world and you see the beauty of the world, and the camera shows you the beauty of the world, and it just encapsulates sort of like the feel of the film itself. The performance by Edgerton is outstanding. He will be nominated for an Oscar as Best Actor
For that
because it
film.
needs,
Yeah.
it needs a very sort of like simplistic feel. Considering what's happened to it, he's a very lonely man in the latter half of the film, and for me, that sort of like it resonated more with me, considering my circumstances. I live on my own. I don't
Yeah.
have any family. And that's what he's like in that one. He just does the normal day-to-day work that he has to do, trying to live with the times because he lives into the early 1900s to around about 1960. So he lives through the war itself as well. So trying to live through times and how technology and things like that have changed and how he has to actually change himself, but he just wants the most simplistic things in life so he can actually live. And it's a very meditative kind of film. It does have a stoic nature to it, but not in the Malick sense. And it's a captivating film. It's on Netflix.
Okay.
It dropped on
Yeah.
Friday. It's in there with my top 10 films of the year, just because.
Oh, yeah. I think
I,
I'll
I
I'll definitely check that out just solely based on the cinematography comments that you've
yeah,
made and stuff. So.
I watched it last night, and because I was at work up until 4:30, and I watched it last night. I put it on around about 8:30. It's on for about an hour and 40 minutes. It really doesn't feel its runtime. You
Right.
could actually spend an easily good another hour in that world, and you would be fine, even at the pace that it's got. And because the pace is a very, very simple pace to it,
Yeah.
but it just has everything going for it because the acting is there. It's got Felicity Jones in the movie who just pops up in a small little couple of little scenes. It's got William H. Macy in the film as well, and he's outstanding with the time that he's been given. And yeah, it's just a lovely comfort film. It's a lonely film, but a very comforting lonely film. Like I think this sounds like damning with faint praise. The best way I can describe Train Dreams, it's like a Horlicks of a movie. Like
Right.
when you're not feeling very well,
Yeah.
and your mum used to make you a hot drink, like a hot chocolate or a Horlicks or something like that, just to make you feel all warm. Like the illness just disappears because you feel that comfort. You're in a comfort zone.
Hmm.
That's what Train Dreams feels like in the hour and 40 minutes that you're in that movie with it. You just feel that warm, comforting feel to it, despite what he's having to go through. So yeah, I can't
Okay.
recommend it enough.
I'll
It's
check
like
that
I
out.
said,
It's Netflix, isn't it?
it's on Netflix, and it's just watch it when you've got no distractions. So that's
Yeah.
why I think on a night time is the best time to watch it because then you've got no distractions. And just ignore the world around you for an hour and 40 minutes and just sink into that one. So yeah, but I love the film.
There we go. Somebody Stu Pat joined in the chat. Can you join in? I think we are kind of rounding up a little bit, but if you've got some questions, fire them in really fast. You and I normally do these shows on a Sunday at 1 o'clock, don't we? Where we've
Yeah,
rescheduled slightly this weekend,
because
which
I'm
is
at work tomorrow.
because you're at work tomorrow, and my schedule is pretty much flexible. Anyway, um, yeah, I'm looking forward to finishing The Shield because that's taken up a hell of a lot of my time. I'm loving watching it, but that's gobbled up a lot of my time. I'm also looking forward to catching up with Stranger Things because that's gobbling up the other part of my time. So I am way behind in movies. I've still not seen House of Dynamite yet, which I really want to watch. I know we talked
That's
about it on a
it.
previous show. There's a lot of movies. I've seen Fantastic Four, which I thought was fine. Yeah, another movie. It was okay. It was fine. Um, and then we're starting to prepare for the end of the year shows. I want to watch I Swear, which Stu just mentioned in the chat. I
I
really
do
want to
as
watch
well.
that. Yeah, comes
Yeah,
out on video on
that's it.
demand, I think, this week. Coming. So
That's a film that because I couldn't get to the cinema to see it, and so
yeah,
that's a film on my very very small little list of films that I do need to still see before the end of the year. Because the way
yeah,
I watch films, I pretty much watch them when they do actually come out. So yeah, I really do. I can't wait for I Swear.
I really want to watch I Swear, and I really want to watch Tron Ares. I know, shoot me.
Tron Ares is awful.
But I want to watch it anyway because it's Tron. So there's that. I haven't seen Lilo and Stitch yet. I haven't. There's quite a
Awful.
lot that I have not watched, and I'm never going to get round to watching them. I think Minecraft, I'm seeing that either.
You don't want to. Just to
Which-
quickly mention as well with Stuart in the chat there. So he worked on a film last year called Fackham Hall, which is out in December. So I'll keep an eye out on that. So yeah, I'm always interested in any kind of film itself, no matter what kind of film it is.
Same.
So
And
yeah, we'll definitely keep an eye on that.
And the good thing is like a gaggle of stews now, isn't it? The good
Yeah.
thing about Stu Miller is he never switches a film off either. I don't tend to,
Nope.
but I will if it's that bad. I'm like, you know what? I'm kind of done. It depends on the running time, I think, for me. If a film's like an hour and 20 or an hour and 25, and I've watched an hour and I'm really not liking it, I'll finish it. But if it's a 3 hour epic, like I've never been able to get all the way through the second Avatar movie. I've tried multiple times, can't do it. I have no interest in watching the third one, even though I really
Yeah,
like James
unfortunately,
Cameron. I'm good. No.
I hated the last Avatar film more so than I hated the first one because I really didn't like the first one. I was one of the very few people who didn't like it on first viewing, never mind second or third viewing. And I really didn't like the second Avatar film. I will watch the third because
Why?
one, as you've alluded to, I'm a glutton for punishment, and two,
That's it.
because I've already started the series, and so what's the point of not watching a film in the series? I've seen every Hellraiser film. I've seen every every Hellraiser film, every Puppet Master film, every Scream film, every film in any franchise that I start watching. I don't skip out on them, no matter how awful they are.
I do. Because I'm never. I would love to get to the point in my life when I'm about 150 going, I've seen every movie that has come out. It's never going to happen. It's impossible. So I don't tend to waste my time on films I'm really not enjoying. Saying that, it's like I'll often go back. 2001, I hated that film for the first 5 or 6
Yeah,
times that I tried to watch it. I just could not get into it. I could appreciate it, but I just didn't like it. But then earlier this year, at some point, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get through this thing. And I watched it all in its entirety for the first time in my life. It's like, I quite liked it. I get where it's coming from. I don't know whether I need to rewatch it again, but I did actually get around to watching it.
yep.
Doing the
But
chat as
yeah,
well. Avengers Doomsday trailer attached to Avatar, yes. Marvel stuff, I'm kind of dropping out with a lot of that. Not because I don't think it's good. I like what I've seen. There's just too damn much of it with the TV shows
that's
and this. It's like, no, can't do it.
just a caveat in regards to that. That's if we get it, because not always is a trailer attached to a film, and that we get it in the UK. It's normally mainly the US. Sometimes when an important trailer is attached to a film, we don't get it. So it's just all dependent.
It'll be all over YouTube, won't it? At some point, within a few days, I would have thought, if not sooner. But Avengers looks good. I'm sure it's fine. Yeah. It's like after watching all the horror movies in October, I just had like a week when I just didn't watch any movies. I'm like, I need a rest. I need to have a bit of a break from watching a lot of films, which is why I then jumped into watching The Shield and then Welcome to Derry. I'm making sure that we keep up to date on because A, people will spoil it, and B, I've been looking forward to the show for the past couple of years since I first heard about it. But movie wise, yeah.
Yeah,
Has,
and
has it?
and
Has it been a good year so far for movies, or has it just been like there's been some good
well,
ones, but all in all, it's been average?
that's a question which we'll answer in around about 3-4 weeks' time.
We will. How's your lists doing? Are they all
I haven't
ongoing?
started.
Yeah.
I haven't started just because I don't start until at least December the 1st, where that's when I do my tentative list, because there's still films that I do need to mop up. Thanks to Letterboxd, the way they do it on Letterboxd, you can arrange them in your star ratings. So that's going to help me jog my memory of some films.
Yeah.
But there are films that are going to be in the list. Normally my list can be quite horror leaning towards. This year, I think there might only just be one or two horror films in the list. So I think it's going to be more drama centric as well, which normally does happen with my list. So it's going to be very easy for me to actually create 10 the 10 best films of 2025, the 10 worst films of 2025. That's going to be very easy. Some dishonorable and honorable mentions. So last year I only did 5. This year I can easily do 10 because I'm currently on 170 different films this year. And that's, again, caveat, as people already know, it's only films that released in the UK from January the 1st up to the present moment that I've seen 170 films, 170 new films released in 2025. So that's a lot, which is 19 more than I saw last year.
I'm on about 150, but that includes rewatches. So things like JFK and Rise of Skywalker are in my 150 films that I've watched this year. So it's certainly not all new films.
I don't have a single rewatch in any of mine in my list at all. Wow. So I've got a lot to choose from, and I could easily as well, if I wanted to, sit down and do my 10 best horror films and 10 worst horror films of the year list.
Go ahead. If you feel the need, go for it. Like we can do that.
But the way the show, at the length of the show that normally happens when we do our top 10 and whatever, I think it's probably best to just keep it in case in the best and worst. Because I know you don't do worst. You do the best, and then just leave the worst to me, and then I'll do the worst 10 films. I'm not going to absolutely pepper it with all these Disney Mickey Mouses and
Steamboat Willie things, Popeyes and stuff. Yeah.
The way I'm going to do it is I'm going to sit down and I'm going to choose probably the worst, maybe 2 out of them. So the worst Mickey Mouse one and the worst Winnie the Pooh one is probably how I'm going to actually do it, and then fill the rest with other films itself. So a couple of films that people have seen this year might surprise if in the worst films list.
Stu's just mentioned in the chat Project Hail Mary. I'm looking forward to watching Project Hail Mary next year.
Mm-hmm.
That looks really good. I've heard a lot of good things about that. The Odyssey, I'm hit and miss I'm a hit and miss on Christopher Nolan. I think I've got about 5 of his films in my top 250. That was one thing I was going to mention to you. Now we did our top 100s.
Mm-hmm.
Mine's still going. Mine is currently 246. I'm going to cap it at 250 because otherwise I'm just going to end up with a top 700 at some point.
Yeah.
But I'm collecting them all on physical media as well, and I've got most of them. So I've got a few Nolan ones in there, but it's like I've no interest in watching I will watch the Odyssey, but I'm not like, can't wait for that just because it's Christopher Nolan.
Yeah.
No. And I've not already bought my cinema tickets for it, like a lot of people.
Neither have I.
Weirdly enough, have. But yeah, Project Hail Mary is definitely on my 2026 list of films I want to watch. So.
Same. I might have to come up with what we'll probably end up doing in January in the first one, because January is the dumping ground for films. There is a couple of films, the new Silent Hill film that's out in January, which the trailer dropped a couple of days ago, which looks fine. It's directed by Christoph Gans, who did the first one. So I'll go to see it. But January is normally a dumping ground of films, so it might be a good time for us to maybe jot down a few films that we're looking forward to in 2026. But we've got plans for the next show, which is the best and worst of the year. Got plans for January, so...
Yeah, we've got plans. That's good.
Yep.
It's good. What are you up to for the rest of the afternoon then, Stu, other than resting your voice?
Yeah, because I'm back at work tomorrow at 10 o'clock. So I've not eaten at all today. I had no food. So I'm going to make up a curry while watching the football. And then I might, surprise, stick on another film tonight. I'm not going to get to 200. I don't think it's possible that I would watch 30 films from now until we do our lists, but it's very unlikely.
Would you like to get to 200?
Potentially. It'll be back in the old Monday movie show days where I think the most films I watched in a year, and again, this is the caveat of the film itself only released that year. So it wasn't a film that I watched from the year prior. I think the most I watched in 1 year, and this is really sad, was 322, I think it was the most I watched. Because I remember we had weeks where we reviewed something like 16, 17, 18 films in 1 week. And so, that's the most. I'll never reach the heights of 322 films in a year.
The most
But
I ever did was 366, and again, the way I watch films, that includes rewatches. But that was tough.
yeah,
That was like one a day, and ended up just doing an extra one. But that was exhausting. Who you wouldn't think
yeah,
that watching a movie. Then there we go. And we're back now. Yeah, it's exhausting watching 366 films in a year.
it is. But
So
that
never
like I
again.
said, that was 322 films only released that year.
Yeah.
So you can just imagine if I did rewatches as well, and that's
It'd be a
having a
lot.
day-to-day job
Yeah,
on
yeah.
top of that as well. So if I did rewatches, I probably easily would have gone beyond the 400 mark. So
But why don't
400
you,
films in a year.
to get to 200, why don't you just start targeting new films that are like 80 minutes or 85 for the next month?
Yeah, maybe
Because
there are
that's the
still a few.
problem. It's like I watched, Barry Lyndon this week, and that's over 3 hours. You're like, well, I could have watched like 3 80-minute films near enough in that time.
Yeah, there are
And it's
still a
not
couple of
cheating.
films. There are a couple of films that I've still yet to see. I've still yet to see F1, but I know that's a 2.5 hour film. So
So
I've
that's
still.
currently my favorite film of the year, F1.
It's not mine. Oh, obviously, I haven't seen it.
That's because you not watched it
But
yet. I don't think it will
it's.
be though. I don't
I
think it will be
think
your favorite film.
it drops on Apple TV very soon. So I've got that to watch. I do actually want to see the new Sisu film because it looks completely insane. So I
Yeah.
do want to watch that. I'm interested in the Carpenter's Son, the Nicolas Cage film. You've got Zootopia or Zootropolis. That's Zootopia 2. That's out Friday coming up. Obviously, you've got Avatar. That's coming out. Anaconda. Just because I like the idea, the fact that it's taken the piss out of itself.
Yeah.
So you've got that as well. There's a few other films still to be released this year in cinemas, and on a couple of films might pop up on Amazon Prime that I didn't expect. And the Netflix seems to be in the Christmas mood by showing the usual Christmas dross, which I'm not going to stoop that low in
Yeah.
watching.
Exactly.
So there's them as well. So there are a few films still out there. So you never know. I might hit that 200 mark. I'll give it a go, but I'm not guaranteeing it.
I stopped aiming for targets a few years ago.
Same.
I'm like, I'm good. I'm just going to watch whatever the hell I want to watch, which is why, like, this morning was Rise of Skywalker, and then a
Yeah,
couple of days ago was JFK. I'm just going to watch whatever I want to watch. And this week
that's
was Barry Lyndon. I'm good.
that's why next year I don't care if I beat what I've watched this year. That's not the task. It's to watch films. That's my task. And so there are quite a few films coming out next year that I do want to see already. So we'll see, like the new Resident Evil film and Silent Hill's out in January, and Terrifier 4 is out in around the Valentine's Day in that area there, and
Yeah.
yeah, so we'll see. But I'll
My,
try to get to 200.
my goal next year is to watch a lot of the big films that have come out over the past 100 years that I've just never got around to watching. So I'm starting to build
Hmm.
up a spreadsheet, and we're just going to watch like one a week, and
Yeah,
just tick them off my list. So. But yeah, I'm gonna go, and Stranger Things obviously will gobble up a lot of time in November,
yes.
December for you because they're all coming.
4 episodes of Welcome to Derry, because there's 4 episodes of that left. So that will lead us into December. So there's that, and then we'll see what hits next year.
Yep. Right. Well, thank you as always. Good luck with getting your
Not a
voice
problem.
back, and good luck with all the worky days, and enjoy your gig that you're going to
Yay.
watch and whatnot. And we will catch up soon.
We definitely will.
All right. Say hi to Ozzy for me.
Oh, he's asleep still. The
Yeah,
lazy
my
cat.
cat Oscar is asleep as well next to me, so it keeps me company.
He's in his little bed fort under the bed.
Nice. It's cold weather, so cats need the temperature. Even though Ozzy doesn't go
Yeah.
out, Ozzy will know when it's colder outside.
Just before I disappear, because it snowed in Sunderland a couple of days ago, we had 2 days of snow, quite heavy snow as well. I just thought, let's take the cat out just to see what his reaction would be to the snow. I took him out, put him down on the snow. He was bouncing around like that, wondering what was going on. And then he
Yeah.
saw the fence, darted to the fence and started scratching at the fence and started crying. I picked him up and said, it's all right. And then he starts shaking. So I went, I'm never doing that again to you.
No, definitely an indoors cat is Ozzy.
So he's happy because I've got the nice, comfortable bedding on. So I've got like this teddy bear duvet, which is really fluffy and cuddly. And he jumps up on it, does his usual cat paw thing on it, and just here, this is my territory. It's warm and cozy. I'm happy here.
Definitely. Yeah. Right. You enjoy your afternoon, Stu.
Same with yourself there.
And I will chat to you soon.
See you later then. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye. Thanks to Stu in the chat as well. Thanks to everybody else. Bye.
Bye.